हाँ जी, just go, हाँ जी, start कर दो भुआ जी।
वाहिगुरु जी का खालसा, वाहिगुरु जी की फतेह। My humble request, please put on your cameras. Please put on your cameras. So, 2 दिन तो ਅਸੀਂ ਕੀ ਕੀਤਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਵੀ, the difference between sympathy, apathy and empathy. The second day we did somatic empathy and cognitive empathy. Today we are going to do emotional empathy and effective empathy. Emotional empathy and effective empathy. Now, emotional empathy is very much connected to the EQ. We have done the EQ now, the emotional intelligence. So it is very much connected to that. Emotional, the word which was samajh gaye ki bhai emotional is playing with all our emotions. Kya janda hai ki na, your pain in my heart. Emotion. Jo toda dard hai, wo mere heart vich hai. Or we can call it as a personal distress. It becomes a personal distress or an emotional contagious. It is contagious. Ek emotion honda aur naal manu bhi emotion ho gaya. Asi somatic vich bhi ek kita hai. Okay. Now, what is the meaning of this emotional? What does it help? How? Madad kinj kardi hai. It builds up emotional connection with the other. Emotional connection with the other. Jo agla banda feel karda hai, asi usi cheez nu feel karde hain. Along, ude naal, khali feel nahi karna. Khali feel karde hain, then we have the ability. We have the ability to imagine what someone is feeling and thinking. दो चीज़ां, एक emotion दी bounding होंदी है, एक connection with the emotion, another what that person is feeling and thinking. ये भी साढ़े अंदर एक ability होंदी है when you go into the emotional empathy. Now, क्या जानते कि भाई अगर emotional empathy है, तो can we build it up? कि असी ये चीज़ build कर सकते हैं? So they say yes, you can. You can build it up. Now, to build up the thing, what happens? What have we to learn? There are certain steps which we have to know that how do we build up this empathy? This empathy, first thing, जदों एक अगला बंदा होता है, बेशक वो कोई डॉक्टर है या काउंसलर है या कोई फैमिली मेंबर है, when a person tells you about a personal target, listen carefully. देखो, listening is such an important part, you know. Any field with जाते जाओ, we have to be very good listeners. So in building emotional empathy, मैं अपने अंदर emotional empathy, I want to do it because I want to help the mankind. So what I will do, I will become first thing that I will be very, very a good listener. जो भी वो मनु कह रहे हैं, पूरी तरह मैं उसको समझाऊंगी. I have to understand. I have to listen. Then when I am listening, a next tool I have to use is no passing judgment. ਅਸੀਂ ਜਦੋਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਸੁਣਦੇ ਆ ਨਾ, ਤੇ ਸਾਡੀ ਆਪਣੀਆਂ ਕਹਾਣੀਆਂ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦੀਆਂ. ਨਹੀਂ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਝੂਠ ਬੋਲ ਰਿਹਾ. ਨਹੀਂ I think must be that. ਅਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੀ ਕਹਾਣੀ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦੇ. So what happened? We are not very good listener. ਸਾਡਾ ਮਨ ਜਿਹੜਾ divert ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੈ. So if you want to build up this emotional empathy, so you have to be a very good listener. Then you have to resist being judgmental in any situation. Third, do not interrupt. ਜਦੋਂ ਉਹ ਬੰਦਾ ਕੋਈ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਦੱਸ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ, ਕੋਈ ਗੱਲ ਹੋ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ, please do not interrupt. ਜਦੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ interrupt ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਨਾ, ਤਾਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੀਆਂ ਕਹਾਣੀਆਂ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਕਰ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਹਾਂ. Do not interrupt. ताकि अगला बंदा connection build करता है, सुन रहे हैं, वो मेरी पूरी गाल सुन रहे हैं. So you are not supposed to interrupt. Then focus on what he is talking, the how, the why, the what. ये सारी चीज़ां जरी होंगी ना, तुहानू उस दे information विचों मिलेगा. ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ how and what and where is ਸਾਰਾ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ information ਮਿਲੇਗਾ. That if you are a very good listener, you don't interrupt, you don't judge, ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਸਾਰੇ ਆਨਸਰ ਉਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਮਿਲਣਗੇ. Now, ਜਦੋਂ ਉਹ ਬੰਦਾ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਕੋਈ ਗੱਲ ਕਰ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ and he is in pain, so then what happens? You have to be very supportive. ਹੁਣ supportive ਕਿੰਜ ਪੜੋਗੇ? ਮੈਂ ਉਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਬੈਠੀ ਹਾਂ, ਉਹ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਦੱਸ ਰਿਹਾ ਸਾਰੀ ਗੱਲ, ਮੈਂ ਉਹਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਬੜੇ ਧਿਆਨ ਨਾਲ ਸੁਣ ਰਹੀ ਹਾਂ, ਮੈਂ ਉਹਦੇ ਅੰਦਰ ਇੱਕਦਮ ਇੰਟਰਪਟ ਨਹੀਂ ਪਾਉਂਦੀ, I don't judge anything, but I'll become supportive. How do I become supportive? Ho sakta I just catch his hand. I just rub it. That you already know in all our teachings what we are doing. The touch of love, the touch of security, the touch of care. So what are we? We are supporting them. We are supporting this, that yes, I'm acknowledging whatever you are saying. I can understand you. I can understand the pain. And then, ਜਦੋਂ ਸਾਡੀ ਗੱਲ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਹੈ ਨਾ, then you thank that person. Shukr. Thank God you've told me. We are there to help you. There's nothing to worry about it. This is how slowly we train ourselves. We slowly started training ourselves. So when do we start the training? Start training in the house. Bacche han, husbands are there, wives are there, children are there. Anything, start practicing, start building this emotional empathy. And we can do it. ਇਹ ਚੀਜ਼ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਕਿਸੇ ਕਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇਹ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਬੈਠਣਾ ਕਿ ਹੁਣ ਤੇ ਇਹ ਤੇ ਇਨਬਿਲਟ ਹੋਏਗਾ. No. Now you have got the knowledge. Now start building this up. So building up, remember the 6-7 points. Listening, no interruption, no judging. Then you have to understand all the hows and whys and what. Then what will happen? That you have to be very supportive with your body language and gratitude. Us time tak you have gelled up with that person and the person becomes totally in gel with you. Oh, puri cheeza tonu dasega. It's very easy for you to enter into that area. So this is how we are training, building up our emotional empathy. Acha. They say that agar sade is cheez to build kar leti. Okay, we have learned how to do it, because this shows agar tusi kisi kol baithoge na, doctors are doing, and this emotional empathy are very famous for doctors and counselors. ਜਦੋਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਡਾਕਟਰ ਕੋਲ ਬੈਠੋਗੇ ਨਾ, ਤੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਇਮੀਡੀਏਟਲੀ ਪਤਾ ਲੱਗ ਜਾਏਗਾ ਕਿ ਇਹ ਇਮੋਸ਼ਨਲ ਐਮਪੈਥੀ ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ. ਕਿਉਂ? ਇਹ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਆ ਰਹੀਆਂ ਨਾ, ਇਹ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਨਜ਼ਰ ਆਣਗੀਆਂ ਕਿ he is using his body language, he is focusing, he is not interrupting, he is listening to me. ਇਹ ਪਤਾ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਕਿ ਇਹ ਇਮੋਸ਼ਨਲ ਐਮਪੈਥੀ ਯੂਜ਼ ਕਰ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ. So if I want to practice it, then I have to do the same thing. ਮੈਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਇਹ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਸਿੱਖਣੀਆਂ ਪੈਣਗੀਆਂ, ਮੈਨੂੰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ body language ਸਿੱਖਣੀ ਪਏਗੀ. I have to understand how I can communicate, how I can do unjudgment, not to be non-judgmental. ਇਹ ਤਾਂ ਅਸੀਂ already ਸਿੱਖ ਹੀ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ. We people are already learning in this platform how to be non-judgmental, giving them space, then giving them the body language, the touch language, listening. This is all we are already learning. So we are learning this. We can inculcate in ourselves. और अगर सानू पता लगे कि मैनू कोई काउंसल करन आ रहा है, कोई मैं डॉक्टर देखन आ रहा है, I can immediately say he's using his emotional empathy. Now, is the फायदा की है? What is the use of this empathy? It makes our interpersonal relationships beautiful. Emotional empathy, साडी जो relationships है ना, बहुत अच्छे हो जाएंगे. क्योंकि आजकल साडे कोल टाइम नहीं है सुनने दा. We don't have the time, and we mothers and all parents and all are always judging. बच्चा आया, ਅਸੀਂ ਕਦੀ ਉਸ ਨੂੰ ਬੈਠ ਕੇ ਉਹਦੀ ਅੱਖਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਅੱਖਾਂ ਪਾ ਕੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਉਹਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੁਣੀ, ਅਸੀਂ ਬੋਡੀ ਲੈਂਗੁਏਜ ਨਹੀਂ ਯੂਜ਼ ਕੀਤਾ, ਅਸੀਂ ਪਹਿਲੇ ਹੀ ਜਜਮੈਂਟ ਪਾਸ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ. Try to practice this first in the house. Charity starts at home. So this emotion helps us what to build up a relationship. And even when there are people who are coaching, when they are coaching the children, when they're coaching the classes they're taking, marketing, then when we are having health problem vi jadoo hundi hai, this emotional empathy is very, very good, excellent. Now you can understand, agar I have to help someone to heal, so this is what you have to practice. और ये सारा किस दे थल्ले आंदा है? Emotional. It all comes under Naam Simran. Being non-judgmental, without being blamed, being very good listeners, using your body language, using your compassion. These सारियां चीज़ां use करन दे नाल relationships are built very well. When we are coaching the children, or when there's a health problem, people are in depression, this emotional empathy is very, very good. But can they feel the negative ki hai? What are the pitfalls of it? The negativity ki hai? There are two, good and bad. Now, what are these two? अगर ਅਸੀਂ दोनों देखिए तो ਤੁਸੀਂ देखोगे कि good empathy, emotional and bad. ਜਦੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਡਾਕਟਰਾਂ ਕੋਲ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਨਰਸਿਸ ਕੋਲ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਬੜੀ ਵਾਰ ਪੇਸ਼ੈਂਟਸ ਕਹਿ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਜੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਤੇ ਡਾਕਟਰ ਮਿਲਦੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਗਏ ਨਾ ਤੇ ਅੱਧੀ ਬਿਮਾਰੀ ਸਾਡੀ ਠੀਕ ਹੋ ਗਈ. Because doctors are very good. Because doctors are using the emotional empathy. They listen. They give you space. They will not interrupt. वो कहेंगे पूरी बात बताओ. They'll play with you. They'll talk to you. See that they use their body language. So what happens? Patients कहते हैं जी साड़ी आधी बीमारी वैसे ही ठीक होगी. Because doctors are very nice. They listen to us. They can understand us. Because they're using which language? They're using this emotional empathy. Just when they're connecting to the they're totally connecting to the emotional body no totally connect kar de. Now they're connecting along with it. They're connecting to all the informations also. Emotionally connected hai kyunki body language they're using, they're giving you space, they're listening. But at the same time वो पूरी information बच्चे को सुने क्योंकि वो interrupt नहीं करते. वो पूरी गल सुनते. और जब वो पूरी गल सुन लेंगे उन्होंने पूरी information मिल जाती. So the combination of emotion and information, it becomes into emotional empathy. So doctors and nurses are considered to be very nice. This also is used by counselors. When we say now the person goes to a counselor and they say कि उसको देखते सारी मेरे को ऐसे लगा, उसका ऐसा aura ऐसा था. So what happens is actually they're using this emotional empathy. But remember one thing, that there is also a bad emotional empathy also. What is that? जदों कोई counsel करता है, या जदों कोई doctor जानता है, that person or the sister nurse gets emotionally trapped, over emotional हो जाता है. That means it shows that उसका overload हो गया, emotion the overload हो गया, उस दे नाल ही बह गया. So is not able to respond back properly. ਉਹਦਾ response ठीक नहीं ਹੁੰਦਾ. Then for example ਅਸੀਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਕੋਲ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਉਸ ਨਾਲ ਅਸੀਂ ਬੈਠਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਉਹਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਸੁਣਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਹੁਣ ਬੜਾ ਇਮੋਸ਼ਨਲ ਹੋ ਕੇ ਮੈਂ ਵੀ ਰੋਂਦੀ ਹੁਣ ਮੈਂ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਆਪਣਾ ਇੱਕ ਇਫੈਕਟ ਕਰਨਾ ਸੀ ਉਹ ਹੋਇਆ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ. I got drained off with the emotions. This emotionally when overloaded does not bring out a good result. Then फिर ਅਸੀਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਹਾਂ कि these doctors and these nurses, they have to go in for a training. They have to go in for a training कि भाई अपने emotions ਨੂੰ ਇੱਕ limit ਵਿੱਚ ਰੱਖਣਾ ਹੈ, ਜਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਬੰਦੇ ਨੂੰ comfortable ਕਰ ਸਕੋ and you can get a good result. But even at times when there are nurses and doctors and counselors ਜਿਹੜੇ are not who control the emotions, ਉਹ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਹੀ ਕੋਈ control ਕਰ ਲੈਂਦੇ ਆਪਣੇ emotions ਨੂੰ. So what happens? Information ਤੇ ਮਿਲ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ, ਪਰ ਜਿਹੜੇ emotions ਸੀ ਨਾ, they have ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਉਸਨੂੰ control ਕਰ ਦਿੱਤਾ. So what they say, very uncaring doctors, very uncaring nurses, again they have to go for a training where they have to bring emotion to a certain level where they do not get trapped, but they make the patient, they make their clients very comfortable. So this is also what we have to understand about the emotion, that we should not be trapped. Now this, jo bhi ਅਸੀਂ ਕਹਿ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ about this emotion, ਇਸੀ ਨੂੰ ਅਸੀਂ another word we use as the effective emotions. This emotion is also known as the effective motion. Now effective emotion means what? Effect. There should be a good effect. अगर साडा emotion which overload हो गया, So effective empathy is not going to be there. Only effective empathy tad hondi hai, uda result acha tad honda hai jadon sadi emotion are balanced. Not too less and not too much. It should be very well balanced. For this, that emotion makes the person comfortable. He pours out his whole story. And if you are not too much of emotion, then what is it? He's not caring. I'm comfortable in as doctor nurse say. They don't have any emotion. They don't understand the emotion. No, anything as emotion in so much. So we reject those people. So that is why then an effective empathy is not being, because effective empathy is very closely related to the emotional empathy. Now, agar asi dekhiye ki asi piche kita si cognitive and now this is emotional. Now let us see the combination. Let us see why versus the cognitive empathy versus emotional empathy. Cognitive, no emotions, only informations. And emotions are what? Is we go to the feelings and we get the information. So which is better? Which is better? The emotional. But emotional में ध्यान रखना पड़ेगा कि सारे emotions are not overflowing, are not overloaded. So we have to be very careful when we go into counselings or when we go to the doctors and nurses or when we are talking to a near dear one. Sanu ye pata lag janda hai ki ekeri empathy is being used. Now, they say that when you want to use a communication, how to communicate, all of you who are sitting there, I would like you to practice. Let us start from the house. Let us start from the house. Start using this empathy. This is going to be a very effective empathy. I will get you onto a screen or how you use the empathy. Now you can see. ਹੁਣ ਜਦੋਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਘਰ ਆਪਣੀ ਇੱਕ ਕਾਉਂਸਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਹੋ, ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਹੋ, ਆਦਮੀਆਂ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਹੋ, ਜਾਂ ਕਿਤੇ ਵੀ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਹੋ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੂੰ ਕੋਈ ਪ੍ਰੋਬਲਮ ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ, and you want to use this effective type of empathy, emotional empathy. So what will you do? You have to first eye contact. Eye contact should be there. Then the pose of facial expression. जब तुसी देखोगे तुहानू उस expression तो ही पता लग जाएगा कि what that person is feeling. You can see the faces in the M. From the muscles of facial expression तुहानू पता लग जाएगा. Now, third very important posture. कोई बंदा एकदम slacken down कर जाएगा, एकदम लेट जाएगा. Try your level best कि बंदे दी एकदम थोड़ा posture should be right. Then from the eye contact, muscular facial posture tonu affect pata lag jayega. You will come to know how it is affecting. Eh cheeza hi tonu pehle effect das deniya. Then comes the tone of voice. Us di jehdi tone of voice hai, agla jehde tone te use kar raha hai, be very careful from the tone of the voice. You can communicate कि अंदर की चल रहा है. ਉਹਦੇ eye contact ਤੋਂ, ਉਹਦੇ muscular facial expressions ਤੋਂ, ਉਹਦੇ posture ਤੋਂ, affect ਤੋਂ, ਉਹਦੇ voice tone ਤੋਂ, ਸਭ ਕੁਝ ਪਤਾ ਲੱਗ ਜਾਏਗਾ. Now, what have we to do? Hearing the whole patient. ਉਸ patient ਨੂੰ ਪੂਰੀ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਸੁਣੋ. No interrupting, no giving your own ideas. Connect to the emotions. पूरी गल हो गई. You have reached the edge, hearing the whole patient. Now you respond. You see your response. Try it in the house. Bachche jadoo aande, they come upset or something, make them sit down. Look them into the eyes. दोनों face to पता लग जाए कि बहुत परेशान है, बहुत परेशान है. Sit up. Now affect. please use this body language. Now tone, udru, from the tone, tonu sari informations mil rahe, listen to it, hear to what they're saying. No interruption. Let them pour their heart out. Why, how, what, sab tonu answer to which mil jange. After listening to them, what is your response? But response karan to pehle, all these factors are very, very important for us. Ki sanu eh cheezan da bada dhyan rakhna payega ki eh jehdi cheezan asi pehle puriyan kari, because now we are training ourselves. We all of on this platform, train yourself for the emotional empathy. For your effective empathy is very, very important. Because when you are listening to a person, whole period, then you will not get emotionally trapped. Then the effective empathy will start. After you have done this, then us bacche da puri gal sun liti hai, then you respond to the child. Then you will respond to the child. Now you will respond to the child according to the knowledge that you have. What is the knowledge that you have? Sanu ye dekhna payega ki sade ko knowledge kya rahega. What knowledge do we have? Ho sakta hai we are learning this, ki how to use the emotional empathy, but utte ja ke fir bolna ki tadme nahi pata. So this is now where we are training each other. We are going to train ourselves. Now you know these are the factors. Jadoo bhi koi banda koi pareshan hai, dukh hai, kuch bhi hai, this is how you have to start. Next is what? You have to have the tools. That's we will be doing later. Assi hun agli classes vich karange. When we come down to the parokana, tonu sare tools pata lag jange. I'm just preparing you. This is how you have to enter for a very good, effective empathy, a very good emotional empathy. So it's my request to all of you, please training yourself. In this EQ, emotional quotient is very, very important. Already we have done. So emotional quotient, emotional empathy, emotional intelligence is the same thing. It's the same thing. And we know how important it is for us. How important this is for us. So today we have just taken of how to train. Please, it is my request that all of you start training yourself. Start training yourself. Tomorrow I will be doing compassion. That's a higher level of empathy. Tomorrow I will be doing compassion. That's a higher level of empathy. And then after that, I will come into the last thing, which is called the spiritual empathy, which covers all the empathy. All the empathy will cover up. So now I like Harvinder, please carry on with the question. Any doubts, please come up with it.
Our kindness and compassion is too often mistaken for weakness. Whereas fact of the matter is, empathy is a sure sign of spiritual awakening. So let's crack our Q&A now. Before we address the hand raise, there's one question which has come in, Bhua Ji, that some people have intuitive powers. Like they can delve into the mind of the others and read their thoughts, emotions, feelings. So now what comes out of such people? What type of empathy is it? Because they know your mind fully well.
See, this is, now this is either one training or someone is born with these type of intuitions. We call these people who understand the mind, who can read the mind. We call them as the sixth sense, or we call them as the clairvoyants. They are born with it. Otherwise, when we go into this training and we start doing and understanding all these empathies, and we are working, daily basis we are working, then slowly we did the somatic. The somatic, we did the first one, कि जो भी अगला बंदा फील करता वो चीज मनु भी फील हो जाती. Now, उस somatic नो I can understand कि जरा अगला बंदा मेरे कोल बैठा होया हुए, I'm feeling on the physical level of my body. This is somatic empathy, that I'm feeling on the physical level that the person is going through some problem. Okay. Now, then we use the cognitive empathy. That is, jadoo banda can go into the person's mind and understand and get all the information. get all the information also. But you are talking about thing that एक बंदे ਨੂੰ खाली feel होता है कि सारा कुछ, he can read the person's mind. This is when you go under a lot of training, you can still develop up this type of feeling कि तुसी बंदे ਨੂੰ मिलते हो तो एकदम physical body ਦੇ ਉੱਪਰ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ महसूस ਹੁੰਦਾ है कवे, and उस analysis ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ आके ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ पता लगता है कि ये बंदा इस दे ਵਿੱਚ जा रहा है. जैसे for example ਅਸੀਂ diseases ਵਿੱਚ ਕੀਤਾ है कि अगर मेरा पेट दर्द हो रहा है ਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਕਹਾਂ पेट दर्द, ਮੈਨੂੰ पेट ਦੱਸਦਾ कि ਮੈਨੂੰ पेट दर्द हो रहा है, I analysis भी करते हैं कि oh I'm having pain, मैं कुछ digest नहीं कर सकी हां, I'm not able to digest something, so I'm connecting, I can understand my body. The same thing when a person comes and you feel that you can understand the pain, you can understand the thinking, maybe it is a clairvoyant, maybe it is a sixth sense, or maybe as counselors and doctors when they are practicing, they can, and then ek banda mere samne jana hai, I can understand that person. So there can be three things. It can be clairvoyant, it can be to the training, or it can be somatic and your somatic empathy and cognitive empathy, all combinations. So that is your individual, you have to understand from where it is coming. कि ये थोड़ा इंस्टिल पहले तो है या is it because of a lot of practice?
जी बुआ जी, ब्यूटीफुली एक्सप्लेन्ड. हाँ जी, राजवन जी सवाल रखो जी.
ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ ਭੂਆ ਜੀ.
ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ ਜੀ.
ਤੁਸੀਂ ਉਹ ਇਫੈਕਟਿਵ ਐਮਪੈਥੀ ਇਮੋਸ਼ਨਲ ਐਮਪੈਥੀ ਸਮਝਾਇਆ ਤੇ ਡਾਕਟਰ ਯੂਜ਼ ਇਟ ਐਜ਼ ਅ ਟੂਲ ਟੂ ਕਿਉਰ ਦ ਪੇਸ਼ੈਂਟ. ਤੇ ਮੇਰੇ ਐਕਸਪੀਰੀਅੰਸ ਵਿੱਚ ਇੱਕ ਡਾਕਟਰ ਸੀਗਾ, ਡਾਕਟਰ ਦੇਸ਼ਪਾਂਡੇ. ਹੁਣ ਥੋੜਾ ਬੁੱਢਾ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ. ਹੀ ਵਾਜ਼ ਅ ਵੈਰੀ ਗੁੱਡ ਫਰੈਂਡ ਆਲਸੋ, even though he was more than age of my father, just he had a different tool. Before hearing, first hear it. Before hearing the patient, to infuse confidence, he used to make him laugh and be happy by talking jokingly. जैसे क्या हुआ मराठी में काय झालं, सर्दी झाली, पेरू खायचं, बेर खायचे. And he at that time, even now, penicillin was a drug of choice, and he had a knack of giving penicillin even though penicillin had a reaction.
Voice is cutting, Rajwan ji, voice is cutting.
कटिंग हो रहा है?
हाँ जी.
होना रहा है?
हाँ जी.
हाँ जी. तो ਉਹ ਪੈਨਿਸਿਲਿਨ ਇੰਜੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਦਿੰਦਾ ਸੀਗਾ, ਪਰ ਉਹ ਰਿਐਕਸ਼ਨ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਐਵਿਲ ਮਿਕਸ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਸੀਗਾ ਕਿੰਨਾ ਕਿਹਨੂੰ ਦੇਣਾ. ਤੇ ਜਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਪੇਸ਼ੈਂਟ ਆਇਆ ਤਾਂ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਖੁਸ਼ ਕਰ ਦਿੰਦਾ ਸੀਗਾ ਔਰ ਪੈਨਿਸਿਲਿਨ ਦਿੰਦਾ ਸੀਗਾ, ਹੈ ਨਾ. ਔਰ ਹੁਣ ਜਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਹੁਣ ਮੈਂ ਚਲੇ ਗਿਆ, कोई सिक गया और सर्दी हो गई, सर्दी और सरदार को कभी हो ही नहीं सकती. तो ही हैड अ नेक और पेशेंट इमीडिएटली ठीक हो जाता था. और
so this is which empathy? एक ही empathy है कि ये
effective empathy है ना.
Effective emotional. Emotional is effective empathy.
Effective empathy. But see, कैसे भी first you don't comment, you listen to him. But
no. That is what when we are training ourselves. मेरे अंदर है नहीं, मैं और अपनी ट्रेनिंग कर रही हूँ कि how do I incult this emotional empathy? I am not going to incult. I am learning. जब एक बारी learn कर गया ना, तो what happens? These doctors don't have to learn now. With so many cases and all, now their auras are so strong. These doctors remember one thing: whatever techniques they are using are all emotional empathy. They're using emotional effective empathies they're using. Because down the years, itne cases land to baad, they have gotten trained into it. They know every patient. They can know from the body language ki bachcha aaya, aadmi aaya, insaan aaya, isme pehle main hasana payega. I have to talk to him. So the doctors are now very well equipped now. Very well equipped. Oh, कहते हैं फिर पेशेंट कहते हैं जी साडी अद्धी बीमारी ते वैसे ठीक हो गई.
but his result was nearly 100%. पेशेंट को देखने गया कदे ठीक नहीं होएगा, कदे ऐसा मतलब नाराज होके ही नहीं आएगा। और उधर ना कैसे जोकिंगली कोई बुढ़ी औरत की अरे तू तो अभी तक बहू से तगड़ी है, ले हाँ तो तेरे को कुछ नहीं होएगा। बट hats off to that fellow.
So now you can understand when you go to the doctors, medicines do work, but more than the medicines is the positive way of acting with the thing, the positive way of behaving the patients. That thing is. इसी करके डॉक्टर्स कहने दवाइयां तो दे दिया पर विश्वास से चलो, everything is fine, everything is fine. This is what we are doing. This is what we are doing in our classes. So the doctor's behavior cures a patient more than half. हाँ जी
जी। और जो अगला सवाल है कि infatuation, love at first sight, attraction, are these also some forms of empathy?
See, infatuation jehdi hegi hai, you cannot say in empathy. That's a very different energy. Empathy is something where you can help a person. You go into a certain area and help the person out of some problem. Help a person to elevate. So when you have this infatuation and all, they don't come under empathy. That's a different energy, absolutely totally a different energy. Empathy is something elevating a person.
जी। और जो अगला सवाल आया कि when you empathize with somebody, so you need to have your self-care strategies in order, because otherwise you will have a backlog of emotions. So what is like a safety kavach? So what is that? How can you arm yourself before you empathize?
So that is what I was telling you. Shift your attention. I did it on the very first day. Now, emotional empathy is good and bad. Good hinge that you are using your empathy, you're using your emotions, making the person comfortable, getting into that area, getting the information and curing. The other is what? That you are emotionally connecting, but you've gone driven into the emotion. Overload ho gaya. It harms you. It harms the patient because you do not get the full appropriate effective hunda hi nahi, because you have gone driven into the emotions. So we say, then how do we do? Then these doctors, nurses go under training for the emotions. So what they say that when you go and you are counseling or to a doctor or any person you are talking, oh banda ro raha hai, oh banda bada sad hai, everything hai. You take a telescope, you see the sky. A telescope is this, ਅਸੀਂ ਫਿਰ ਪੂਰੇ sky ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਖਾਲੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਇੱਕ star ਜਾਂ ਦੋ star ਦੇ ਉੱਪਰ ਜਾ ਕੇ connect ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ. Everything is there, but we put a block to everything. खाली ਅਸੀਂ ਇੱਕ ਜਗ੍ਹਾ ਤੇ ਜਾ ਕੇ focus ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ. बस साड़ा attention भी यही होना चाहिए. When a person is crying and seeing everything, please focus your thing onto a different direction. Don't look at him. Don't see his crying. Nothing. Just hear. Just hear. What are the information? Automatically, thodi emotions na band ho jange. नहीं तो ऐसे उस emotion दे विच trap हो जाएंगे. So divert your attention like a telescope. You will be able to control the emotion which will be overloaded.
जी, beautifully explained, Bhua Ji. जी, before I go to the next question, जी राजवन जी, आपकी तो और सवाल है जी.
हाँ जी, बुआ जी.
हाँ जी.
This emotional empathy, one who has gone in depression, do the psychiatrists they use this tool of emotional empathy? I've heard that they show a pendulum just to observe the pendulum, so the conscious mind जाएगा. तो यही टूल यूज कर रहे हैं emotional empathy?
No. Emotional empathy is nothing to do with the pendulum. That is a type of a pendulum which is used just to hypnotize. Just a person to focus into one area. Bas. That is for that reason.
But depression
Emotional empathy is going to be used by the doctor and the nurses or by the counselors. They have to use this emotional empathy.
depression
And
was
how do they use? Because depression banda mere ko patient aaya. Okay. Now I want to use a pendulum. Now how much efficient I am. मैं कितना कुछ equipped है गया. मनु कितनी कुछ चीज समझ है कि मेरे को एक बंदा आया depression था. And I have to see that मेरे emotions have to be very balanced. I must try to understand the person going through the problem and pain. I will not overload. I will not overload. I will use all the equipment that you have to be a good listener. You have to use your body language. You have to just touch the person. No interrupting. Pura uske andar na, you have to create ki bhai, I am only there for you. Don't worry. I am there for you. The security, the insecurity they are trying to secure kar dende ho. This is called emotional empathy training. Jehdi assi log lavange. Pendulum has nothing to do with it. Pendulum is only that used when you are using some hypnotizing or to sleep. That's a different therapy. That's a different therapy. Hanji.
जी Bhua Ji. Bhua Ji, अगला सवाल आया based on children. Do they understand the difference between sympathy and empathy, or are they innocent, pure, fake? What is it?
No, they don't understand. हाली बड़े बच्चे नु empathy तो पता ही नहीं है. वो हर गल sympathy. They use sympathy. हमको बहुत sympathy है. हमारे से बहुत pity करती. They only till there. हाली children are not aware of it. वो सोचते सी किसी नु दो गल कह देती ते ਅਸੀਂ बड़ा बड़ा काम करके आ गए. So this sympathy and empathy हाली बच्चियां तक नहीं ही पहुंच रहे. It is not reaching. So they cannot even make out a difference between an empathy and sympathy. एक और वर्ड यूज कर लेते हैं apathy तो कहेगा ये apathy कहां से आ गई?
True.
So the first day the diagram which I showed you was one of the most beautiful diagram in which all the three are shown. Now the children will understand what is apathy, what is sympathy, and what is empathy. We'll have to educate the children.
जी जी बोल जी पिंकी जी अपना सवाल रखो जी.
हाँ जी सत श्री अकाल बुआ जी.
सत श्री अकाल बच्चा.
बुआ जी दो तीन चीज़ां ने जिस तरह मेरे अपने फैमिली डॉक्टर ने मैं उन्हां कोल जानी हाँ कोई भी मैनू प्रॉब्लम होंदी है ते मैं उन्होंने कहना मेरी तुसी नबज देख लो अद्धी ठीक मैं नबज देखदे ठीक हो जाती हाँ जिहड़ी चीज़ तुसी कही. सेकंड चीज यह है कि सपोज किसी डॉक्टर कोल बंदा चाहता है पता नहीं उसकी बॉडी लैंग्वेज तो या उसका ड्रेसिंग स्टाइल तो लगता है ते डॉक्टर ही नहीं हैगा. अरे लगता ही नहीं डॉक्टर इंज मतलब असं कह देने सानू विश्वास नहीं आता. थर्ड चीज यह है कोई डॉक्टर है तो वैसे अपीलिंग लग रहा है कि अच्छा डॉक्टर है लेकिन तुसी जो अपनी उसनु बीमारी दस रहे हो अपनी तकलीफां दस रहे हो वो इधर उधर देख रहा है या कोई समान नु छेड़ रहा है तद भी लगता है कि यह मेरी बीमारी ये तीनों अलग अलग चीज़ां ने ते ये तीनों अलग चीज किस तरह समझिए.
देखो जिस डॉक्टर को तुसी जानते हो और देयर आर मेनी डॉक्टर्स एंड ऑल जो तुसी गल कर रहे हो ना ते ओ इन्हीं को सुनते नहीं है वो सुनते हैं अगर बट दे आर वर्किंग ऑन डिफरेंट डायमेंशनल और लोग कम भी करते हैं सुनते भी है बट डजंट गिव अ वेरी गुड इफेक्ट ऑन द पेशेंट. वो कहते मेरी तो गल ही नहीं सुनता. सो व्हाट हैपेंस अगर सुन भी रही होएगा ना मेरा सोचने का तरीका कि हाय मेरी गल नहीं सुन रहा ऑलरेडी अ नेगेटिव एनर्जी गोज देयर. इट इज ऑलरेडी गॉन देयर. ये तो कुछ भी नहीं हैगा ये तो डॉक्टर ही नहीं हैगा ये तो गल ही नहीं सुनता पिया. हुन उस डॉक्टर दी एनर्जी आएगी. देखो आई ऑलरेडी टोल्ड यू एक्सचेंज ऑफ एनर्जीज आर गोइंग टू बी देयर. तो आई हैव गिवन दैट एनर्जी आई गेट दैट एनर्जी मतलब तो कम ही नहीं कीता. इट्स नॉट वर्कड ऑन मी. नाउ आई गो टू अनदर डॉक्टर एंड द डॉक्टर वो इतनी गल सुन रहा एवरीथिंग करता है. He is building up a relationship. He's gelling up. मन दे विच आंदा है कि you start gelling. एक subconscious mind विच आंदा है I'm very comfortable with this doctor. That energy of comfortable actually cures us. मन लगता है कि मन सुन भी रहा है और मन कर भी रहा है ना. मन लगता है very comfortable with this person. ये डॉक्टर ठीक कर रहेगा. It is actually मेरा ही जिरी चीज है कि ना it cures me because मन विश्वास बैठ गया. So there are many energies that are working. Be satisfied. We say, please take care of your own energy. जदों किसी को जानते भी हो डॉक्टर को जानते भी हो ਇਹ ਭਰੋਸਾ ਰੱਖੋ ਕਿ ਜਾਵਾਂਗਾ ਮੈਂ ਠੀਕ ਹੋ ਕੇ ਆਵਾਂਗਾ। ਬੇਸ਼ੱਕ ਦ ਡਾਕਟਰ ਇਜ਼ ਨਾਟ ਦੈਟ ਫੇਮਸ, ਉਹ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਠੀਕ ਹੋ ਕੇ ਆਵਾਂਗਾ ਨਾ ਇਸ ਮੀ, ਇਹ ਮੇਰੀ ਬਿਲੀਫ ਸਿਸਟਮ ਹੈ, ਇਹ ਮੇਰੀ ਪੋਜ਼ਿਟਿਵਿਟੀ ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ। ਦਿਸ ਇਜ਼ ਵਾਟ ਆਈ ਐਮ ਫੀਡਿੰਗ ਇਨਟੂ ਮਾਈ सबकॉन्शियस माइंड, मैं ठीक हो के आऊंगा। When I'm working with the homeopathic doctors and all, when I was making the medicines and all, there was a medicine called SL. So I asked them, what is this SL? ये दवाई दे मैं SL क्यों लिख दियो? इधर ना मैं कोई drops भी नहीं पाती। वो कहते हैं there are many patients who come who have a belief system कि ए मैं तो दवाई लवांगा तो मैं ठीक हो जासा, तो उन्होंने मैं दवाई तो दे नहीं सकती, तो placebo I gave this medicine is called SL. ये लेके जाने कहते डॉक्टर साहब अब तुम ठीक हो जाए, उधर तो दवाई कुछ भी नहीं होती। It is their faith that cures them up. It is the faith. So I was told that please don't put anything, just label it as SL. So you can imagine how people are curing ourselves. So be very positive. Yes, definitely doctors do, because this is where we are very, very, सानू बड़ा हुंदा है डॉक्टरां दा कि असीं डॉक्टर को जांदे हैं, अद्धी बीमारियां वैसे ही ठीक हो जांदी हैं। हाँ जी,
बिल्कुल ठीक है, थैंक यू भुआ जी।
थैंक यू
जी भुआ जी अगला सवाल है कि when you are empathizing with someone and you are emotionally drained, so then is it okay to say no and set a healthy boundary for yourself?
देखो, definitely when you are empathizing, that means somewhere that emotional empathy, where you're using the emotional empathy, overload हो चुका है। You have overloaded it and की होया, नुकसान पहले मेरा होएगा। I have overloaded and अगले दा भी कोई फायदा नहीं होया। You have to very gracefully withdraw. You have to withdraw, नहीं तो पहले अपनी हेल्थ खराब, फिर दूसरे दी हेल्थ खराब। This is being used by a lot of counselors and doctors who do it, and they at times get sick. They get sick. इस करके doctors and counselors usually do not counsel or the patients of the house, कार दे नहीं लांदे, क्योंकि उन्होंने पता है कि मेरे जेरे फैमिली होंदे उन्हां दे नाल असी लोग एक अटैचमेंट आ जांदी है कि वो अटैचमेंट दे नाल की हुंदा वे, they are not able to operate very well. Their emotions are there. Doctors are not allowed to operate on their own children, on their own family members. Not allowed. Why? Because of this reason, that emotionally overload हो जाता है। Same thing even for counselors. For example, if I am counseling XYZ, I'm absolutely fine. But the day मैंने कोई extension family दी कोई counsel करना पैंदा, I know the in and out of the person. Not even consciously, unconsciously, I know the right and wrong of everything. That means I become judgmental. It slashes my aura. And what happens? I start having slight fever and start puking. These are the signs. So usually we do not go in for counseling for our own extension families also. Extension family also we don't.
जी, true.
Yes.
जी अगला सवाल है कि if you are a spiritual empath, so no doubt you can have meaningful relationships with people, but other than that, can we put this skill to any other use of being a spiritual empath? कोई और फायदे हैं इससे?
Or spiritual empathy?
Yes.
Everything I will do on the last day. This is the biggest tool that we people are going to carry. Spiritual empathy is the biggest tool. I will not disclose anything now. I will disclose it on the last day. To come to that, we have to learn all these things. We have to understand the difference of each, because we are getting confused. ਅਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪ ਨੂੰ ਬਹੁਤ ਸੋਚਦੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਤੇ ਬੜੇ ਧਾਰਮਿਕ ਹੋ ਗਏ ਜੀ, ਬੜੇ ਸੰਤ ਮਹਾਤਮਾ ਹੋ ਗਏ ਜੀ, ਅਸੀਂ empathize ਕਰ ਰਹੇ, ਅਸੀਂ sympathy ਕਰ ਰਹੇ, ਸਾਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਲੱਗ ਰਿਹਾ ਕਿ what is the difference between these all different empathies. But yes, when spiritual empathy will come, then one of the biggest tools that you're going to carry, which I'll be doing on the last day. हाँ जी
जी भुआ जी। जी बलविंदर जी, आप जी का सवाल है। हाँ जी रखो जी।
हाँ जी, गुरु फतेह भूआ जी।
गुरफतेह बच्चा।
ਭੂਆ ਜੀ ਮੇਰੀ ਇੱਕ ਫਰੈਂਡ ਹੈ, ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਰਿਕਾਰਡਡ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਸੁਣਦੀ ਹੈ। ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੀ ਜਦੋਂ ਮੈਂ ਪਾਠ ਸੁਣਦੀ ਆ ਜਾਂ ਕੀਰਤਨ ਸੁਣਦੀ ਆ ਤੇ ਮੇਰੀ ਬਾਡੀ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੋਈ ਕਰੰਟ ਪੈਦਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ। ਇਹ ਕੀ ਹੋਏਗਾ? ਸੋਮੈਟਿਕ ਐਮਪੈਥੀ ਹੋਏਗੀ ਜਾਂ ਕੀ ਹੋਏਗਾ?
This is called somatic because this somatic is on the physical level. It is on the
Okay.
somatic level because on the physical level. If there is a transformation, that means it is touch the emotions.
ਓਕੇ,
So this is the somatic.
ਸੋਮੈਟਿਕ। ਠੀਕ, ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ ਭੂਆ ਜੀ।
Thank
you.
God bless you, बच्चा.
जी क्विकली राजवन जी अपना सवाल रखो जी। राजवन जी। Okay. Love, compassion, empathy, these are necessities, not luxuries in life. Without them, humanity cannot survive. It'll just crumble. We end our session now with the promise to meet again tomorrow for our 4th session of our part 15 series. Thank you all for listening in. Vaheguru Ji ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji ki Fateh.
Fateh, Fateh बच्चा, Fateh.
Ma'am, I totally agree with you. But ਇਹ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਸਾਡੀ ਹੁਣ current ਜੋ ਸਾਰੀ activities ਹੈ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਮੱਦੇਨਜ਼ਰ ਰੱਖਦੇ ਹੋਏ ਅਸੀਂ ਰਾਈ ਹੈ। So it is not necessary that this standard has to be ਕਿ ਜ਼ਿੰਦਗੀ ਭਰ ਸਾਡੀ ਇਹੀ